Got him out that bitch. What's up, FIMI? See, that was how I wanted to come out, but you know, people are acting stupid right now. It's like, my daddy isn't on the ballot. I don't want to vote because he won't do anything. Black pill, black pill, black pill. And, you know, I'm just out here like, fuck that shit, you know? Fuck that fucking doomer, fucking meaningless, fucking coward-ass bullshit. Fucking people so fucking cowardly and shitty that they can't do the easiest fucking thing in the world to stop the fucking orange-red goblin from hell who sucks and fuck him forever. And is that camera on? Heyo people, and welcome to this edition of FIMI, or fuck, I missed it. This quarter, I missed a lot because I'm not doing single album reviews anymore. Can we still call it FIMI if, you know, we're missing everything? But regardless, we got our usual 40 albums to cover here. 20 I picked myself and 20 picks from the CTXO private Discord. That's a one-time $10 pledge to gain access and have a shot at getting your request in for the next one, potentially. And we do other stuff over there too from time to time. It's fun. Feel free to check that out if you want to. But in the meantime, let's not dilly-dally, let's get started with... I've been following Left at London for a good while now. Nat's got some serious lo-fi indie pop kind of chops to her. I dug what she was doing on Transgender Street Legend Volume 1, and I really dig what she's done on this EP as well. It's a much, like, heavier record emotionally, because 2020 be like that, but it's got a lot of conviction and some damn fine beats and melodies to it. And Nat is just a very talented songwriter and songcrafter all around. I think that eventual full-length record that's supposedly still happening, yeah, if that ever does come out, I am more than happy to hop on board. This EP is short and snacky, but it's like the best kind of snacky because it leaves me hungry for more. Like, Left at London is good stuff. If y'all haven't caught up to that yet, do yourself a favor and catch up to it. Also, I still say, best Tyler impression in the game.
I wanna not be alive, and I wanna just cuddle up. My family's some dick to suck. I made me a couple beats, that made me a couple bucks.
Really super aggro flavor of hardcore here, with sharp as hell screams and very caustic, very blunt force lyricism. But it also has like a silly side to it. The opening track is about how like vacuous and formulaic hardcore can be at the worst times. They literally open up the pit by like, they're not afraid to get a little cheeky and have a little fun with themselves, and my god do I appreciate that. I wish more bands would, frankly. Lauren Kashan has a powerhouse shouts, and the beats and breakdowns are particularly brutal, and they actually have a somewhat unique approach to the hardcore genre, which, like they have already pointed out, can get a little homogenous at the best of times. Good stuff in a genre that can get a little samey. Check it out. Look, Strokes fans, if you're happy, I'm happy too, okay? I mean that. I am not here to poo-poo on your parade. I super duper hand on my heart, both hands on my heart, promise. I'm not here to just shit all over your senpai. If you're digging this album, more power to ya. But I sincerely think this is one of the worst things they've put out to date. I'm sorry, but this record just has so little on it to appreciate. Even the last record, Come Down Machine, which I was also probably too hard on, at least that had its moments. It was like lopsided as all hell, but it had a few tracks I could walk away from and say, oh, this is nice, okay. This record though, I don't get it. What do y'all see in this? The riffs are lifeless and meandering and so dull. The wheezy, farty humdrum synth work does nothing for me, and Julian Casablancas' falsetto sounds like Doug Walker doing an Alvin and the Chipmunks impression while his nuts are being stepped on. Shut up, oh my god, shut up fucking forever in hell, shut up, oh my fucking god, would you shut up? I mean, just realist talk, I do not see what any of y'all see in this, but I don't know, I've had bad Strokes opinions since like 2006. They haven't really swayed me. I'm probably not the guy you want to listen to when it comes to the Strokes. Again, more power to you if you were digging this. I know this isn't the popular opinion, but like, I don't lie to you people, I don't front with you people, and when I don't like something, I don't like to just kiss ass around it. And like, whatever y'all see in it, I ain't here for it. You can have it, it's yours, enjoy it, I'm just not here for it. Dude, learn to falsetto. Learn to falsetto, man. It is not hard. Nails on a goddamn chalkboard. I'm gonna walk away before y'all kill me. Jesus fuck. Oh dear. I knew this day would come eventually. Especially when we went multi-genre. We have to talk about Taylor Swift. And I still don't know how I feel about Taylor, honestly. As a whole, it's hard to form an opinion on her. She has periods I like, periods I don't like. I never dug her like super early country stuff. When she started going pop, I thought she was okay. I like stuff like 1989, and I re-listened to Red here recently. That's got some decent stuff on it. Reputation is a garbage fire. I'm sorry, it is. I just cannot stand that album. And Lover is weird. I don't know what else to say other than weird, so let's leave it at weird. And Folklore here, this is another weird move for Taylor. I don't know if anyone really saw this coming. It's very minimalistic, very stripped back, just a straight up folk album, more or less. Given the arc she's currently been on, who could have seen that coming? But I'll be damned if it doesn't work, honestly. This is like one of the best albums she's put out in years. It's really nice. The production is, minimalistic. It doesn't really get in the way of anything, and it's nothing too flashy, but for something like this, it honestly works pretty well. And she does still have a lot of genuine talent, It's nice when you strip back all the gimmicks and all the glitz and the glamour and all the bullshit that doesn't matter, and you just strip Taylor down to her core. There's still a decent core in there. She is still a very talented artist, and it still shows through, maybe more so than it has on her last handful of records. It's not perfect, though. Taylor's lyrics are still easily her weakest assets, and this record is just absolutely too freaking long. This thing did not need to be almost an hour freaking long, I'm sorry. But, for a little project that was probably just like done in quarantine, just as a lark, just as a goof maybe, just as I can't have my global awesome mega tour, so I gotta do something, so here's a folk album I'll just fart. For something like that, something so small scale, it's honestly pretty decent. I enjoyed it. After spending the last 5 years getting just absolutely bombarded by an endless number of math rock bands, I was curious how the new Fall of Troy was actually going to affect me now that I'm frankly sick of this shit. But again, Fall of Troy are one of the guys who do it right, because this one does have a unique twist to it. It's actually re-recordings of their earliest songs written way back in the day when they were still the 30 Years' War. They're kind of doing a "Hey, I'm Just Like You" thing on this record. And similar to that record, it's got some rough edges. The song crafting here is much more simplistic and bass, at least compared to what you're used to hearing from both math rock in general and just Fall of Troy as a whole. It's an odd look for them, but you know, they still pull it off pretty effectively well. I like what they've done here. It certainly has rough edges to it, but I don't know, it's a nice sort of reinterpretation of their old sound in a new and interesting way. But the problem is, unlike Hey, I'm Just Like You, they don't really commit to the gimmick. Only the first 6 tracks of this album are re-recordings. The last 4 are just like random new songs they just decided to throw out here. It has a weird sort of vibe to it. It doesn't play so much like an album as it does like 2 entirely different EPs, just kind of smushed together in one package. Like, you can really see the definitive line after track 6 where the new tracks come in. So it's, I don't know, it's an interesting approach to this kind of thing, but overall, I don't know, it's not the album I was expecting to hear from these guys, but it's still interesting. It's still very listenable, and if you like Fall of Troy, like I definitely like Fall of Troy, not too much to complain here overall. I don't know if it's like album of the year material. Again, it's a little janky in places, but hey, it's still pretty nice. I can get behind it. You know, I'm glad I didn't review this album right away after listening to it. I am just so glad I'm not doing timely reviews anymore, just like Real Talk. But honestly, I'm glad I didn't do that because this one actually took a bit of a minute to grow on me. It's a bit of a shift sonically. I mean, you always expect Deftones to do stuff like that, but this record, more than ever, this is a pretty big shift in sound. It's very dream poppy. Deftones have always been known for having those big, airy, lucid moments on their records, but this specific one, this is about as lucid as they've ever done on one single project. But even though they've, you know, really stuck to that particular sound, it's still as sharp and punishing as ever. The edge behind the bass and guitar melodies is just absolutely visceral, and the production is super polished and crystal clean. This is some of the best production I've heard since like Diamond Eyes. Like, it is just such a pretty fucking Deftones record. Like, I wasn't expecting an album this pretty from the Deftones, you know? And they have put out some pretty records, but this one is like, this one's almost fucking kawaii. It's so pretty. This may be one of the most just straight up tuneful records they've ever put out. I didn't know how they were gonna be able to top Gore when that came out a few years ago, but not only did they top it, I'd say they knocked it out of the park with this one. Yeah, shit, people, the hype is real. This one rules. Another great record from Idols. Raw, loud, angry, and with that trademark bit of tongue-in-cheek that we've come to know and appreciate over the last few years, Idols has released yet another great record that I really enjoyed. But I think I'm starting to see where some of their detractors are coming from here. I mean, these guys have been known to take the piss since the very beginning, and while I love that they don't take themselves super stone-faced seriously, on this record I feel like maybe, in places at least, they take it a little too far. I mean, you think back to their first album, Brutalism, and you remember just how creative and different and new that album sounded. Like, nobody else was doing the stuff that they were doing on Brutalism. And not that Joy didn't have those moments as well, but it leaned Snyder, it got a little more snarky, and this album goes even more snarky than Joy did. And, you know, honestly, I think it's worse for it. This might honestly be the weakest Idols project we've gotten to date, and I really don't know how much farther I want to see them go in this direction. This album proves that that sort of style that they developed on Joy kinda has diminishing returns. Not terrible diminishing returns. Like I said, I still really enjoyed this record. It's still got plenty of good slams on it, and they're just as visceral and crazy and just wonderful as ever. The Idols that we all love is still in here, but I don't know how much longer they can remain that Idols and still be interesting. You know, they're gonna have to start thinking about mixing things up, but I don't know, still really solid, still had a lot of fun with this one, still completely worth your time. After the brilliant Sunshine Rock from 2018, yeah, you better believe I was gonna be tuning in for the next Bob Mould record. That album was just, well, an injection of sunshine into what at the time seemed like a particularly gloomy year. That was a record we all needed to hear. And this record, also crazy good. Tight jams, those trademark crunchy as hell distorted riffs. Mould is still going really strong after all these years. He's still extremely talented. But this record has also been hit by something I like to call 2020 syndrome. You know, it can't help but be a little gloomier, a little more dour, a lot more politically charged, and a lot more frustrated and angry with its lyrics. And like, you know, yeah, no, it's not even like I blame ya. I'm not even saying it's a bad thing. And while I don't maybe enjoy this record as much as Sunshine Rock, that album in and of itself felt more like a fun little experiment, like a one-off kind of goof, something to try just because he could. Right now though, we live in times that aren't very fun, that aren't very goofy, so I get it. I still get it, and this record, even though it's not Sunshine Rock, it couldn't be Sunshine Rock. It's still solid. I still had a lot of fun with it. And yeah, Bob Mould isn't walking out of here without a recommendation from me, so definitely worth your time. You know, I don't know if this is a particularly hot take or anything, but I kind of have the same issue with the Killers that I do with the Strokes, in that they were a band that started strong. Their first couple of debut albums were just fantastic, but man, they just could not carry it over past those first handful of releases. For me, everything past Sawdust, I forget it even exists. They're a very 3 out of 5 band for me. I listen to their albums these days and I just forget everything that's on them. Day and Age, Battleborn, Wonderful Wonderful. Couldn't name you a single track off of any of those albums. And I respun them for this review, so that should tell you something. And you know, god damn it, I really wish I could say something more about this new record too. If anything, just so people don't get pissy at me. But like, I mean, it sure is a Killers album. I have nothing else to add. I'm sorry. At least Brandon Flowers' falsetto doesn't sound like a rubber chicken angrily masturbating. You know, I don't know if I've ever actually put my feelings out there about Manson, but I may as well just get it out of the way. I find the guy painfully boring. I'm sorry. When you take all of the shock and all of the gimmicks out of what he does, the music itself just doesn't stand up on its own. And especially these days, the dude just has 0 unique ideas left. You play anything from this record next to his last 2 or 3 or I don't know, any albums he's put out here recently, and I couldn't tell you a goddamn thing about it. I mean, Manson's whole shock rock pastiche just feels downright quaint in 2020, where the most shocking goddamn thing you've ever seen happens every freaking day on the news. Like, I want shocking? All I gotta do is open Twitter. Oh my god, he sneezed on a baby! Manson's never really given me much of a reason to care at the best of times, and Lord knows he did very little on this record to change my mind. And also, given all the icky stuff we've been hearing about the dude lately, and frankly, these kind of rumors have been floating around for so long, it's like hard to even address, and it's not something I even really want to talk about, and he's not interesting enough for me to care. So, this might seem a little controversial, but yeah, I'm perfectly fine leaving this guy behind. So here's something I haven't been able to talk about until this year. Ruston Kelly might be my favorite country artist out there right now. I stumbled across his debut back in 2018 and just lost my freaking mind over it. People, seriously, Dying Star is a fucking gem, and even if you hate country, give it a shot. Yes, even you. The dude's scathingly personal, broken-hearted lamentations and just real ass pain and emotional struggle is conveyed so grippingly in his music, and this follow-up is even more of a heart strangler. He was already a very mature and very well-weathered voice in alt country, and he's only gotten better on this release, in my opinion. So many wonderful tunes. Rubber, Pressure, Radio Cloud, Brave. People just... even if you can't stand country, even if you're that guy, give Kelly a shot. He may be the dude that converts you. He was certainly one of the dudes who helped convert me. And if he doesn't, man, I really don't know what will. I've honestly heard a fair amount about these dudes. Imperial, Triumphant are doing something very interesting. Black metal mixed with like straight up jazz fusion. Like this record has lots of like jazz piano and lots of complicated horn work weaved into the melodies, and well, see, I don't know if weaved is the right word here. See, I don't know. I'm stepping into shaky territory here because I don't know much about black metal or jazz fusion, but just based on what I heard on this record, it could just be the very nature of the genres themselves, but on this album, the two styles just don't blend very well. It's not particularly subtle. It sounded a little clunky to me, if I'm being honest. They tackle both elements separately very well. Don't get me wrong there. The black stuff is ultra heavy and the jazzy stuff is very skillful and well executed. It's the sonic disparity for me though. Like they were just clashing so much. Anytime this record had to make a shift from a darker mood to, you know, the more whacked out jazzy stuff, man, you could just hear a fan belt fly off the mix and it just was like, okay, we're jazz now. Again, maybe this is just like a me problem. This sounds like it might just be a me problem. Again, we're dealing with two areas where I am beyond a pleb, but it's one of those albums where I can respect it on a technical basis. Yeah, this music took a lot of effort and a lot of skill to pull off, but just sitting there trying to listen to it and take raw enjoyment out of the experience, outside of admiring those hooks, yeah, I honestly just wasn't feeling this. If it sounds up your alley, I'd still definitely give it a shot, for sure. Like I say, I'm not the guy you probably want to listen to on this, but I didn't have much fun with this, I'm sorry.
You know, this is probably the closest thing we're ever gonna get to a new Bright Eyes album.
I really should just stop saying things, shouldn't I? But no, Bright Eyes has a new album, and you know what? Just, it's great. Just straight up. It feels like it picks up right from where the People's Key left off. Although this one has a bit more of a, like, surreal kind of bent to it. It sounds like a Bright Eyes record that was recorded in Twin Peaks. It's cloying and aching and painful in all the right ways, but the instrumentation is also very lush and vibrant and downright trippy and weird in places. It's so crazy fitting how well Bright Eye's specific brand of misery folk just fits right into 2020. In 2020, yeah, it feels like it fits way too well. Jesus. Yes, I'm a horrible fortune teller, but in this specific case, I'm happy I was wrong. Nice to have you back, Bright Eyes. Always love seeing you guys here. You know, it's been about 3 years since the last Ulver record came across my table. You know, these guys are interesting. It's a gothic, blackened, dark wave electropop thing that used to do straight up black metal until they decided that, oh hey, we just sound better behind the Casios, so let's do that instead. I really enjoyed their last album, Assassination of Julius Caesar, and this one was also very great. The synth work is a bit more colorful and a tiny bit more, like, splashy and vibrant in places. It's no less moody or atmospheric. It feels like this album is a little more focused than Assassination was. And while it's not something I go out of my way for every day or anything, if you love dark, morose, melancholy as all hell synth pop, absolutely go for it. These guys have been doing fantastic stuff for years now, and it's definitely a nice thing to throw onto your Halloween mixtape, you know? It's good for that, if absolutely nothing else. 'Tis the season, you know? Napalm Death. Fuck yeah, dude. Always happy to see these guys come around. Vicious, searing, blood-soaked, and brutal as all hell grindcore, with riffs as savage as ever. Barney Greenway's shout is just venomous as all hell, and the grooves are just outright insane and off the wall, and like, man, it's just... it's just another Napalm Death record. Napalm Death is totally one of those bands that have the problem, but they are so good at what they do. I honestly would say they don't need to change a thing. They don't have to change a thing. Napalm Death have delivered some of the most savage grind the genre has to offer, and at this point, they have nothing else they need to prove to anybody anymore. I love this band. I'm always glad to see them drop a new record, so yeah. Not much else I can say about it except that it's another Napalm Death record, but man, that has never, ever, ever been a bad thing. Gulch's new record is only 15 minutes long, but holy shit, do they throw a lot into a little package. Loud, crazy, completely hysterical, and insane hardcore that just gives zero fucks. Everything is turned up to 11 on here. Guitars are shredding like tornadoes, drums are elephant stampedes, vocals are absolutely blood-spitting shrieks and yelps, and it just doesn't let up for even a minute, not even a moment. This thing is just intense from cover to cover. It's a short package, but it's a fucking crazy one. If you need your hardcore to be like extra, like super fucking extra, this is extra with a fucking bullet. Like, again, it's a small package, it's a super small package, but they stuffed a lot into it, and like, these guys really only need 15 minutes to impress you. Aryeon are one of those groups where it's really tough to talk about them in a one-paragraph summation. I mean, sit down. How much time have you got? It's basically a one-man musical project where the whole idea behind it is huge, sweeping, symphonic as hell metal, prog rock style music with deep, intricate, really complicated narratives and storylines where each character has their own distinct singer. Like, the name of the game when it comes to Aryeon is epic. And Aryeon has delivered yet another pretty epic album for us here. The arrangements and instrumentation are all sweeping and huge and luxurious, and they serve the story and narrative pretty well, even if the story itself is kind of generic and corny, if I'm being honest. This record is actually a one-off. Aryeon likes to do things where they connect the storylines to a lot of their albums. Now, this one is kind of doing its own thing, and it's weird. It's about a 19th century aristocrat who dies, gets sent to purgatory. He comes back as a ghost. He's got a week to save his girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. I really wasn't invested this time. I'm sorry. The music is still pretty decent, though, so it's not passing out of here without a recommendation, but it's, it's still a light recommendation. This is not my favorite Aryeon record. I wouldn't tell you to start off with this album. If you're new to Aryeon, there's so many other places I'd like to point you, but this is, it's okay. Okay, people, let me make one thing crystal clear before I get started with this one. I do not object to Machine Gun Kelly trying his hand at pop punk. Hey, if he's got the chops, more power to him, go right ahead. But it's hard truth time. If this album did not have Machine Gun Kelly's name on it, none of you would care. If this guy were just some generic Johnny SoundCloud McButtfuck, you would listen to this record and probably laugh him right out of the room. I mean, this thing is bad, people. This is like probably one of the worst pop punk releases of the entire fucking year. It has things on it that are good. Travis Barker does a very good job. The production on this record is very good. There are things that are good about it, but the only stuff that is good about it are the things that MGK has the least involvement in, because my God, Machine Gun Kelly is just so untalented. He is just an outright terrible fucking singer, even on pop punk standards. My God, on this album, he sounded like Tom DeLonge coming out of an intense dental surgery. His guitar work and general songcrafting ability is generic and simplistic to the point of idiocy. His lyrics, when they aren't cliched as fuck, are just pace-chuggingly stupid. And the biggest crime out of everything else on this record, the guy is just so fucking derivative. The man does not have a single original idea in his head. He wants to be the new Blink-182 so bad it hurts. Oh, it just itches in his scabby little vagina. I mean, yeah, you can argue that part of the reason this sounds like such a Blink knockoff is because Travis is providing the drums, but Travis has worked on many other projects and they didn't sound like Blink-182 knockoffs. Transplants didn't sound like Blink-182. People, just because Travis is here does not mean this had to be a Blink-182 sounding project. This is deliberately by design. And between all the Tom DeLonge wannabe bullshit and music so transparently uninspired that several artists couldn't decide whether they needed to sue him or not, people, this is fucking awful. He may not have gone into this record with like the worst intentions. He said he wanted to get more people interested in pop punk and rock and stuff. But this record, it's so fucking shitty. I don't think a lot of people are going to be inspired to, go more in depth and listen to more rock. I think people are gonna just pull out their old Blink-182 albums because I liked this shit better when it was called Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. Again, I have nothing against Machine Gun Kelly on principle doing pop punk. If he wants to do pop punk, that's his right. But show up with your own ideas or just go away. Joji is one of those artists I'm honestly kind of conflicted on. He showed a lot of promise off on his first record, and hell, even the old Pink Guy stuff slaps harder than it really has any right to. The dude is obviously very talented, and a good deal of that does show up on this record too. The production is just beautiful all the way through. It's a very pretty record. It's an album you can certainly vibe to, and Joji's soft and often relaxed vocal deliveries blend surprisingly well with his crisp and very pronounced falsetto. See, Julian, God, Here is another guy who does it right. Please take notes, dude. I'll stop. But oh, this record, it's a little flabby. It's 53 minutes, and no matter how well you might be able to sink into his vibe, you sink right back out again after the 30 to 40 minute mark. I'm sorry. And I also just can't help but feel like Joji's kind of spent up his best ideas. There's not much on this record that isn't much better than his last one or those handful of EPs he released. I'm afraid he's kind of one note. He's locked into that mellow, melancholy, vibey kind of mood, and like, he just cannot get out of it. I still had a generally decent time with this one, but like, I don't know, I'm kind of... Again, this is one of those things where the dude's style does have diminishing returns, and I had less fun with this record, and if the next one is just going to be more of this, I'm not sure how excited I can get for it. It's still not bad or anything, but this kind of has a shelf life. I want to see the man do something new on his next project. I really hope he does. It's a Seether album, alright. This band, they hold kind of a weird place in my mind. Everyone has that one band in their childhood, the band that they absolutely loved to tears when they were younger. And when they went back to listen to them much later in their life, they put their old records on and just went, what the fuck was I thinking? For me, that band was Seether, and man, it blows my mind to this day that they've been able to milk it for the last 20 years. Literally 20 years this band has been around. I'm amazed they still have an appeal and an audience because they have not budged an inch in all that time. Sean Morgan even apparently said he wanted to write this album outside of the typical verse, pre-chorus, chorus formula that they're so known to sticking to. Neat, you didn't do it. I guess if you're not like me and you never went through an ick factor with this band, then it certainly is more Seether. It is what it says on the tin. I can't fault them for that, but make no mistake, that's all this is. It's another Seether record. And like, I just can't do it. I mean, listening to Seether, I just get like flashbacks, dude. Hailstorm is back. Hey, this is what, their 6th album now? God damn, has it really been that long? It's always nice to see these guys come back around. That having been said, yeah, it is just another Hailstorm record. I mean, Hailstorm really only does one particular thing, but you have to admire their commitment to the gimmick. They sell it 100%, and they make it a hell of a fun time, too. They even went to the trouble to make a special 16th century edition of the record that's... We are the pirate metal freaking crew. We don't give a fuck. We think you are not. Literally just the entire album redone in chiptune. I mean, say whatever you want, but that's fun. This band is fun. Radiohead isn't gonna do something like that. They're a fun band. I can get behind that. It may not be much, but it's fun. It's fun. There's nothing wrong with fun. And Hailstorm, yeah, they're pretty fun. Sordid Pink is a Serbian duo that used to go by the name Destiny Potato. For some reason. And this record, oh man, how do I even describe this? Have you ever wanted your favorite pop singer to go through a prog metal phase? That's kind of what we have here on this record. Their singer, Alexandra, has an exceptionally pretty voice. Her clean pipes are a hazy dream. She is a very talented singer. And the synth work here is just the right flavor of hallucinogenic and ethereal to create a very melody-rich sound. But it's also still like heavy as fuck too. The bass and guitar especially just growl across this album. It's still very loud and heavy and downright shrieking at times. it's an interesting mix of styles. The pop-rich choruses will lull you into a nice little relaxing mood, and then Alexandra will just bust out with a honestly, an interesting little project. If you've never been into heavy metal or prog or anything like that, if you're kind of a basic pop bitch, but you want something to kind of help ease you into heavier music, this comes recommended. And even if you're not, I don't know, it's still a good listen. Check it out, it's interesting stuff. Is it just me, or is Amaranth starting to get a little frivolous? Is that the word I'm looking for? I mean, they were never exactly the most heavy-handed band at the best of times, but on these last few albums, and this one especially, I don't know, I can't help but feel like they're getting a little silly. And not necessarily in a good way either. I mean, I'm sorry, but Boom off of this record is like one of the worst songs this band has ever written, and there isn't much else on this album that's even memorable outside of like particularly good. Nothing outside of Boom that's offensively bad, but Amaranth better be real careful because they are getting to be a kind of way, and it's not a good way. I don't know what the heck is going on in Amaranth, but man, I don't know, these last few records have done very little to impress me, and this one especially had its moments where I was like, can you not? So, this is kind of a first for me. No Straight Answer is an electronic musician who, as far as my research can tell, is part of the Vocaloid scene. Vocaloid is actually a type of software that simulates humans singing in it. Okay, look, I don't have time to go into the big details. You know Hatsune Miku? That's Vocaloid. That's what a Vocaloid is. More or less, kinda, sorta, but not really. It's complicated. Look, I know precisely dick about this particular scene, like less than dick. But the album I've got in front of me, from my position of ignorance, I guess, it's not too shabby, I guess. It's exceptionally bright, and it goes for a bit of a soothing kind of vibe. Outside of some moments where the production and the layering can get a little excessive, some of the vocals in this thing are mixed kinda trashy, but overall, it doesn't put out a bad little vibe. If you need to put it on something to like just kinda chill out in 2020, about to say, this is a decent one to pick up. You know, I honestly hate how Alanis got dropped by the mainstream, more or less, after supposed former infatuation junkie failed to live up to its expectations. But again, those expectations were set up by Jagged Little Pill. Nothing was gonna rise to that particular behemoth. But Alanis kind of got a raw deal out of it. She never, again, rose to that level of success. And it's a shame because she's been doing great work outside of that album. And this record, it's a nice listen too. It's a little on the super mellow side. Like, even if you are familiar with the other directions that Alanis has taken with her career, yeah, this one's mellow even for late Alanis. It's very piano driven. It honestly might not have hurt to mix things up a little on this record. It can get a little homogenous in places, but it's still a very good listen with some very nice moments on it. It's a more relaxed, mature, full adult contemporary kind of experience. And you know, she still knows how to write a tune, and her lyrics are as sharp as ever. If all you know is Jagged Little Pill, I wouldn't point you to this album directly, but I don't know, for those of us in the know, or those of us who just like relaxed, adult contemporary, piano-driven kind of stuff, sure. Huh? Shopping was actually a band I discovered a few years back. Their last record, The Official Body, came out in January 2018, on the same day as Mania. Y'all probably should have bought that album instead, I'm just saying. Shopping is kind of a post-punk band, but they're more focused on like tight, danceable melodies and bright poppy synth tones. It's post-punk, but it's pictured through more of a straight new wave kind of lens. The guitar work is instantly memorable and very jangly. The bass work is ripped right out of a Gang of Four record. And Rachel Agg's singing is very pronounced and purposeful. It's post-punk with a lot of funk and groove. The lyrics are a bit on the hollow, derpy side, and even though this album's only 30 minutes, I gotta admit it did kind of feel its length in places, but nothing that's a deal breaker. I can still definitely recommend this to anyone who has a taste for post-punk that's also super duper like tight and well constructed. Give it a go. There's other pirate rock outside of Ailstorm? Well, okay, to call these guys pirate rock is a big stretch. This is basically just straight up a pirate folk. It sounds like authentic sea shanties, complete with sing-along choruses, buoyant fiddles, and no less than 29 members in this band, every single one of them with their own pirate alias. I swear I didn't make this up. How in the hell is there more than one person on this planet named Hampus? But yeah, there's no angle here or any attempt at like cross-pollination with another genre. It's not pirate metal or pirate rock. It's just pirate. And it's nice, I guess. It's good for what it is. If there was like a pirate-themed version of Medieval Times, this would be a fitting thing to play over the loudspeakers, but I don't usually like go out of my way to seek this stuff. If your party has like a pirate theme, sure, I can recommend it, or if you just are really committed to your Jack Sparrow cosplay, feel free, but I just don't listen to this on my own time. I'm sorry. Nightclub, an interesting little goth pop duet out of LA. And it's the kind of goth pop I don't see a ton of necessarily these days. I'm obviously not the most in touch with goth culture. I do love that it's dark and macabre, but this stuff is also like pretty silly buggers too. With songs like Die in the Disco and California Killed Me, this is like a goth outfit that feels like a genuine goth outfit, but it's also like just a little tongue-in-cheeky, not to the point of parody or anything, but it's fun. The synth work is bright and squelchy, and Emily Kavanaugh has a sort of like bratty delivery to her lyrics that adds an extra layer of like sharpness to things. This is almost like if early Kesha had gone through a legit goth phase. And man, is it a shame that never happened. But yeah, it's dark, but also very bright in certain places. Definitely another great album to throw on your Halloween playlist. Wait, dark, but also bright. I wrote that. I wrote that in my script. Really putting that English degree to use, dude. Holy shit. Man, it's been 6 years since the last Neon Trees record. That is way too fucking long of a wait. But thank God they decided to come back, and come back strong on this new album. It's a bit of a different flavor of the Trees than what we're used to. You could argue it's yet another album that's been hit with 2020 syndrome, and that the tone is a lot more bleak, the lyricism is a lot more struggling and desperate, but honestly, knowing what Tyler Glenn has been through over the last few years, given his coming out and his very public departure from the Mormon Church, which was also captured excruciatingly well on his solo record back in 2016. Seriously, a lot of y'all slept on that. I'm just saying, go give that one another spin if you haven't. I'd say Tyler Glenn has been feeling 2020 for quite a while now. And while a depressing Neon Trees record maybe doesn't sound like something you'd want on paper, especially after how bright and sunshiny their last one was, in execution, man, did they pull it off. Like, these guys are just pop geniuses. They understand the genre like very few other acts out there do today. Definitely another high recommendation out of me. Fantastic record. Very gorgeous and exceptionally pretty synthwave from the Midnight on this album. This is a record that's intentionally going for like an 80s throwback pastiche with all its squeaky and like super noisy Casio style synths and the like. Even if the retro aesthetic they're trying to evoke in the lyrics and the imagery is more early 90s, not correct. But this was a relaxing and super mellow bit of chill wave that I think will be a pleasant listen for a lot of you. It's not necessarily doing anything too new or bold or outside of the box, and at just under an hour long, it's a bit on the padded side, but you know, this record creates a chill vibe, and it's another record I can respect because, hey, you can never find enough of that in 2020. Even if the timeline is fucked.
You've created a time paradox.
Biffy Clyro. My God, I have been keeping tabs on this band for what has to be at least a decade now, and I still have yet to form an opinion on them. They just kind of exist. I don't think poorly of them. I don't think highly of them. They're just kind of there. And they have a very stupid name. And this record, it's fine, I guess. The instrumentation is nice enough for this flavor of alt rock. The production is super slick and clean. It's an album with a very smooth polish. Maybe almost like too smooth. Again, everything about this record just slips right out of my head. Maybe the production is just so smooth it's like slippery, but yeah, again, this is a record that just was nice enough, but it left zero impression on me, and I really wish I had more to say about them. Again, I hate running into these bands where it's just like, oh, okay, it's this again, but this record, maybe you fans get it better than I do. You know, I could just straight up copy paste my Seether review here, switch out a few names and titles and just call it a day. I could do that because Red is just one of the most generic and boring Christian metal bands out there. And that's saying a lot for Christian fucking metal. Jesus. I have no fucking idea how music this tepid, uninspired, and horrifically bland has been able to keep a band like this going, again, for 20 years. But again, like Seether, they have not budged an inch in all that time. Not an inch. I really need to stop doing these before dinner. And their gimmick is so fucking played out. They're a metal band that uses strings on every song. Yeah, and every symphonic metal band in existence listens to this white bread, stale cracker bullshit and laughs it out of the fucking room. I didn't get the appeal back then, and I'm just befuddled at the appeal today. You can do so much better if all you want is metal with strings in it. You can do so much better. People, please do better. There's so many other bands that do this better than they do. Please seek them out because Red fucking sucks. Drain is a very small act, kind of getting their start, kind of up and coming, and every source I could find about this band described them as hardcore punk. I guess that works, but I would put a way bigger emphasis on the hardcore than the punk, because this is super aggro. It's got punkish tinges, but it's really more punk in that Cro-Mags, Power Trip, My War kind of way. It's all about slamming beats, shrieking vocals, and guitars that work better as chainsaws than instruments. kind of in the same vein as Gulch almost, though on this one the production really holds it back. It's pretty amateurish. I listen to this thing on very nice headphones and a pretty decent sound system. Nothing I did could get this record to not kind of sound like shit. But hey, you can hear the raw talent shining through the kind of lackluster production regardless. If you need your punk rock to have like the teensiest bit of Anthrax in it, hey, give it a whirl. Again, another super intense band. I wasn't familiar with Little Simz before this got pushed onto the request board. She's actually a British rapper who's doing some pretty interesting stuff out there. And this EP is kind of a nice little snacky demonstration of what she's capable of. She puts out a lot of good lo-fi, minimalistic, fun hip-hop. The instrumentation she uses in her backbeat is very organic, lots of actual piano and bass lines. It almost sounds like jazzy in moments. And Simz has a very distinct, like, rapid fire flow that matches the music exceptionally well. She's got a great sense of timing and rhythm. There's not a lot to go off of here. This is only a 12-minute EP. Again, it's short, it's snacky, there's not much here to actually even talk about, but what is on here left a nice impression. I would definitely be interested in hearing more. Debut record here from Samia, I think it's pronounced Samia. It's not Sam I Am, I know that much. She's an independent pop gal trying to, work those algorithms and do stuff on her own. She's definitely got potential in that regard. Her vocals are very sweet and raw, and the instrumentation here isn't too shabby either. She's got kind of a Lana Del Rey by way of Father John Misty and Charlie XCX kind of thing. If I'm honest though, she may be cribbing like a few too many notes from Lana Del Rey. That really comes across in some of her lyrics, like, And also the production here, also not fantastic. It does kind of hold her back a little. Her vocals are mixed very oddly in places on this one. It's got its rough patches, but I do still see potential here. Like, the raw talent does still shine through, but there are definitely some very noticeable rough edges that need to be sanded off in both the production and, like, a performative kind of sense. But, again, the talent is there. If she works on those issues, keeps building herself up and, keeps improving, who knows? Hey, Protomartyr's back with another record, Ultimate Success Today. It's an interesting little treatise on getting old and growing out of yourself, as written against the backdrop of the chaos of the last few years. And again, it's pretty great. It's always interesting seeing how this band works around Joe Casey's unique style of vocal delivery. Protomartyr is one of those bands where the thing they're trying to do is so unique and out there, it might just flat out not appeal to some of y'all. It's different. It's unique. But if you don't mind stepping outside of your comfort zone, then I'd say Protomartyr has definitely delivered again. They're a solid band that's doing something that not everyone else is or even can do. It's worth spinning just to see if it's your thing, because if it is your thing, yeah, you can get committed to it pretty quickly. People, at this point, I think it's just me. I think I just straight up don't like metalcore anymore. Shit, stuff like this is why I had to go multi-genre, because I got fucking sick and tired of bands like this coming across my desk sounding exactly like 20 other bands that I heard in the same week that all sound like this, and then I just have to kind of bullshit my way through a review. This band is called Bleh. They're from Bleh. They sound like nah, bleh, and bleh. And this new record sounds like... 3 out of 5, so you'll leave me alone. I mean, you know, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. There's nothing like cringeworthy or gross on this record. But whatever, it's generic metalcore, it's basic bitch groove metal, it's what Five Finger Death Punch might sound like if they weren't fucking cunts. But like, god damn it, I have absolutely nothing else to say about them because they are just like so many other bands like this I've heard before. I'm gonna have to like put up a no metalcore sign or something because I'm just unbelievably tired of listening to stuff like this. Again, maybe it's just me. Maybe I've just been weared down. Maybe the metalcore has defeated me. But after listening to so many samey fucking bands that I cannot tell apart from each other, I don't know. You broke me, metalcore. You broke me. Matt Berry. I gotta admit, I was not familiar with this guy, but apparently he's very well known. More so as an actor and comedian in Britain than a musician necessarily. He's shown up in a lot of stuff you may have seen, like The Mighty Boosh, The IT Crowd, What We Do in the Shadows, and the like. He's been around. You've probably seen him in something. But he also does music on the side too, and at least from what I heard on this album, dude loves his 70s folk singers. Like, loves them. He is basically cribbing notes from, like, Jim Croce, James Taylor, Harry Chapin, Jackson Browne. Dude's vinyl collection is probably musty as hell. Basically, he's just doing a big impression of all of those guys, but it's not a bad impression if I'm being honest. He gets what makes a classic folk melody work, and it's a nice listen. Not something I'd go too far out of my way to track down. I'm not the biggest fan of this style of folk, but if you really love your dad's old folk records, yeah, put this on. I'm sure it's a good time. Put this on your Golden Oldies playlist. It'll serve you well, man. The Bomb Pops are a punk outfit out of San Diego that screams classic 90s Cali punk. Like the Fat Records, early Epitaph, you know, that kind of punk rock. It's very nice, very reminiscent of that, and different because this act actually has a couple of female singers, Polly Van Dam and Jen Rezavi. That flavor of punk didn't have a lot of female singers in it, and yeah, these two are great. For fans of stuff like Dollskin or Bad Cop, you should definitely check this band out. They aren't as outwardly political as those bands tend to be. Their lyrics are a bit more like personal and hedonistic. It's more in the NoFX vein of like, fuck, what did I do last night, dude? But hey, it's still rowdy, it's still fun, and y'all know I have a taste for this kind of stuff, and yeah, this record, pretty tasty. Recommended. And there we go. That's the FIMI for Q3 of 2020. Thanks again for watching. If you like what you see, feel free to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell while you're at it for more. We'll be doing one more FIMI to wrap up the year here in late December, so stay tuned for that. I also have a few other vids that are going to be coming down the pipeline, more streams and other stuff before the year is out. I've got some stuff coming up. Say please stay tuned. I will keep you informed of that. And if you want to see either your name in the passing credits, or if you'd like to join the private Discord and have a shot at getting your own pick featured in the next FIMI, links to the CTXO Patreon are listed below in the description. Feel free to check that out. We have fun over there. But until next time, people, thanks for watching. My name is Crash Thompson, and I'll see you